At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our senior senator, Senator Roger Wicker, for an update.
Thank you, Governor Reeves. I appreciate the invitation to be here and also the invitation to be present with my colleague, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. It's great to be back together. I'll begin with a brief report on the CARES Act. The CARES Act was signed into law March 27th. It's hard to believe it was only 1 month and 2 days ago that this law was signed by President Donald Trump. This new law is giving businesses large and small resources to keep workers on the payroll. For small businesses, much of these loans will be forgiven. For larger businesses, we expect them to be paid back over time. For those Americans who already lost their jobs, we expanded unemployment insurance to help them through the pandemic. And we provided direct financial assistance for most working Americans. We decided this was the fastest way to deliver relief to people with the least amount of bureaucracy and red tape. The CARES Act was the largest bill ever passed by the United States Congress, and it was implemented in record time. That is not to say it's all gone perfectly. There have been some frustrations and hiccups and stumbles along the way, including the need for more money on the Paycheck Protection Program, which we passed last week. But overall, President Trump and his administration deserve great credit, as does Governor Reeves. We also need to continue providing effective oversight of these new programs to make sure the money is spent efficiently. The Senate will be back in session on Monday of next week. The House will return to Washington later, but there are a number of items the Senate can do on its own, and we'll begin to do that next week. We need to confirm the President's nominees, including several nominees who will help with the COVID-19 response. We also should confirm more lifetime appointments to the federal bench. There are 3 vacancies that need to be filled from Mississippi. Our committees will be working on issues such as water resources and infrastructure, including rural broadband, and we need to resume work on the annual appropriations process. A lot of attention has been given to China during this discussion, to their conduct and misinformation campaign during this crisis. But we also need to keep in mind that China is continuing its military buildup, and so are our other adversaries around the globe. With that in mind, I'm leading an effort to prevent cuts in our defense spending and to protect defense manufacturing, including aircraft manufacturing and shipbuilding. This will be a good investment for our national security as well as for the thousands of small businesses and the millions of Americans that make up our military supply chain. And we have more to do. Even with the massive efforts we've taken to date, the economy is still losing billions and billions of dollars each month during the shutdown. That's why it's so important that Americans get back to work. And as we do so, let me emphasize this. Reopening the economy does not mean ignoring the virus. We can and should be smart about the pandemic while getting back to work. Governor Reeves understands this balance, and he's taking the right steps. For example, the governor's executive order last week included the resumption of elective medical procedures with precautions. This was the right call, Governor, and will be a boost to our hospitals, which need the revenue, not to mention to sick people who needed the elective procedures performed. The governor rightly trusts doctors and healthcare providers as capable of making these decisions. So thank you, Governor, for that. As we reopen and recover, we need a huge expansion of testing. Congress appropriated $25 billion for testing last week. We need to be able to test Americans on a large scale so that we can isolate those who are infected and the rest of us can return to work safely. Mississippi has done a good job with testing, but we need to ramp up this effort across the country. We all need to do our part. If we do, I know we will overcome this just as Americans have overcome every previous challenge to come back better and stronger than ever before. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Senator Wicker, for your leadership, not only your leadership for our state, but your leadership of our nation.